Welcome back, fans. This is the Dragon Empire, and today we are going to talk about the origin forms. Now, we're going to talk about the origins form of Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina. I'm sorry, Giratina, I'm not going to talk about you much. Like, you had an origin form since the time you were born. I think I messed up. You had an origin form in the Sinnoh, and these two guys got origin form in Legends Arceus. So I'm sorry, not going to talk about you much. And we had this Arceus sitting over here because, of course, it's everything related to Arceus. No Arceus, no Pokemon. So we had this Arceus sitting here, and we'll start off with Palkia because this monster, without hands, looks very awkward. That's why we're going to start with Palkia, and we can see in this GIF that Palkia uses his arms for Special Rend. Special Rend is Palkia's signature move, and its damage and accuracy varies with the forms. That means it has a base power of 19 and 95 damage in base power of 90 and accuracy of 95 in the default form, and the origin form base power of 80 and accuracy of 95. That means that Palkia does less damage for the same accuracy. Now it does have increased critical hit ratio, but that if it doesn't hit a critical hit, that means it's useless. So this form is useless. I'm sorry, Palkia, you are useless. We'll move to Dialga's Roar of Time, but before we talk about Dialga's Roar of Time, I want you to subscribe my channel because only 93% people don't subscribe. That's not only 7% people subscribe my channel. Please subscribe my channel to help me grow. And we'll talk about Dialga's origin form. And Roar of Time does not require the user to recharge. Instead, it lowers the action period. That means Dialga will attack late the following turn. So what Dialga does in his origin form is it has a base power of 140 Roar of Time and accuracy of 75. Now you can see that Dialga takes some time to charge Roar of Time. That is the reason why default form has more accuracy and less time. Like for the time being, Dialga is charging the Roar of Time, the opponent has an opportunity to escape. Now if you are using, like everyone plays main games over here, or perhaps you've heard about it. So if you use two attacks and both of them doesn't hit your opponent, and if you use two attacks that hit your opponent, obviously he'll be happy with the attacks that hit rather than wasting two turns. So this thing that's Beldum in Dialga's neck is what that amplifies the sound that makes them do more damage. But the downside is that Dialga takes more time to charge. Now we'll talk about Shadow Force because Shadow Force is interesting. We can see in the GIF that that Giratina uses Shadow Force, vanishes instantly, and attacks in the same turn. Now, how I am able to say it attacks in the same turn is that Arceus had no chance to attack. This is from 12 of life. So we'll read the description over here. Where Shadow Force can now be used in a single turn like it has been used, and it lowers the action priority and base power and accuracy also varies. So in the altered form, okay, it has base power of 100, accuracy of 100, and in the origin form it has a base power of 120 and accuracy of 80. That means that Giratina does more damage in the origin form for less accuracy. That's thing with everyone in this uh, legendary trio, Grecian trio, except Palkia. Because it's pretty obvious, like if it's 120, subtract 20 from 120 and add that 20 in the 80. In 80 gives you 100 and 100. So that what Giratina did, or what he was made to do, we'll talk about it, was it traded away the damage for accuracy because Giratina is angry from Arceus. Yes, Justin is angry from Arceus because Arceus banished him into the distortion world. So now we talked about why did they change their forms, or why are they like this, like in the GIF, but we'll talk about why do Dialga and Palkia look like Arceus and not Giratina? Now we talk about it. Like, imagine that you're going to a friend's house. You're going to visit a friend you have never visited before, and you're trying to imagine a person's house. The first thing that comes in your mind is that the person's house might look like your house, or perhaps a grandparent's house, or perhaps one of your friend's house like you have visited. So that means that the imagination needs a base. For in the first in our example, that means the base is a home that you have seen as the base for another home. But in Arceus' case, Arceus was the only one. Arceus is the first one born. There was nothing before Arceus. That means that whatever Arceus imagined, because Arceus created Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina, so whatever Arceus imagined would look like Arceus. Hence, Palkia looks like Arceus. Like Dialga and Palkia have four legs like Arceus, has those have those rings like Arceus, so they look like Arceus, and he imagined them. Then we have the question: why does Giratina doesn't look like Arceus? And my theory says that Giratina is was not created by Arceus but was an accident, i.e., that Giratina was born from their shadow. You can see that this helmet from origin form of Palkia looks similar to the helmet of Giratina. You can see that the color is same as Arceus, like brown, that these spikes have been copied from Dialga, and this gray color matches Arceus's color. That means Giratina took everything from those three people, those three legendary. Okay, Arceus is mythical. So those two legendary Pokemon and Arceus, and merged them and was formed from the shadow. And now we come to a conclusion like Palkia altered itself for more damage. Now, why I say more damage when it does less damage is the critical hit ratio. It has more critical hit ratio in the origin form. Into this beastly form, which looks awesome, and we have the scary looking snake, which was banished by Arceus. As a punishment, it had to change its form into this scary thing, and Dialga modified itself for accuracy because it didn't want to charge and lost this um thing in his neck. I'll call the bell. Okay, okay, come on, Dialga, don't get angry. It's just a theory. And we have another theory over here that says that the Arceus in the original one form, like we say that Arceus form is not the one we can see. Arceus had an original form which split up into 1,000 Eternatus. Why I say Eternatus and that also 1,000 is because the Brilliant Diamond entry says that he shaped the universe with his 1,000 arms, with its 1,000 arms. And this thing, what we call as Eternatus, is basically an arm. Now, if someone cuts your arms, you are not obviously not going to survive without a doctor. And since Arceus is the god, it has to live because it has to create stuff. So it split. The remaining part also split up into this thing, what we see today as Arceus, mm, Dialga, Giratina, and Palkia. Okay, also explains that this thing, and this circle has been copied from Arceus because it's split up into these things. And that doesn't mean that Arceus isn't Arceus. Like, Arceus cannot survive. Can now survive because now he's balanced. And if he gets 1,000 alternatives and these origin form, perhaps we'll be able to see a new Arceus or an Arceus original one form. Now we have another theory here. I copied this from Google because everything I'm going to copy from Google because Google is a search engine and it searches images for yeah. And this theory states that the head, that neck is the middle finger. This thing on his head, which call a crown, is a fingernail. And this is the index finger, this is the ring finger. These are the fingernails. And this is a little ring. This is the pinky finger, thumb, thumbnail, and fingernail. And all this makes a hand. Now, why I don't like this theory is that we have Eternatus and we have to do something about this Eternatus because Eternatus is a literal hand. Am I making sense? Yes. So we have to do something about alternatives, and that's why I neglect this theory. Where is my pen? I neglect this theory. Sorry, Arceus, you look cool, you look like a hand, but you are not what you are. And we have this thing which we call alternatives, which is divided, just a literal hand, and has literally more base stats than Arceus. This also explains the reason why Arceus has less base stats than Eternatus, because Arceus was split up into Eternatus. Like Eternatus was born from Arceus, and I had some ideas. Like the actual thing is that we don't have an original one form of Arceus in Legends Arceus. That means there's very less chance that Arceus will have another form. And perhaps Pokemon Company never take my idea, because of course I showed you guys aren't subscribing my channel. So how will I grow popular, and how would Arceus become the original one form? See my power. So that means that Eternatus is related to Arceus. That's like literary theory with everything. And we have these three stuff, and these three things cute were born from this. And we have this Arceus. Sorry, Arceus. And I hope you liked in my video, and please subscribe my channel for so that I can get some motivation to create more videos. I'll be active on Discord. I am active on Gmail. If you want to message me, you can always message me on Gmail. And if you want to talk about some things or have some requests, you can always message me, always comment on my videos, and I'll be there for you. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and until then, peace out.